there was a bit of a hedge there. Joining us now, co-host of the Weekend Primetime on MS Now and economics editor for The Bulwark, Catherine Rampell, and Jake Sherman still with us. Jake, Senate Majority Leader Thune there talking about how the administration needs to plan to try to wind down this conflict. But is anyone in the Senate, anyone in Congress really, going to put any pressure on the president to actually wind this down?
No. They're not. I would say it's very far-fetched, and I don't think the difference in drawing a delineation between what Thune is saying and what the White House is saying is that the White House isn't really expressing what their goals are here, right? I mean, it started with regime change, and then it was degrading their weapons, Iran's weapons, and now that the weapons have been degraded, and it has been the president says that their weapons have been degraded. The goal has moved on to something else. So it's difficult for members to get a grip on what exactly the administration is trying to do here. And that's one of the challenges.
It seems like the goalposts have moved here. Jake, there's an upcoming 60-day deadline mandated for the War Powers Act. What are you reading from Leader Thune about the looming deadline that's now less than 3 weeks away? Is there going to be any pressure point that Republicans and Democrats can use to try to pressure the president to end this?
Well, Democrats are going to put a bunch of war power resolution votes on the floor, and that's going to put people on the record, and they're going to have to vote on limiting the president's capability and ability to prosecute this war, to conduct this war in Iran. Now, these have mostly fallen on party lines, but the longer this goes, the more it will potentially cause rifts and bring out rifts in the Senate Republican and House Republican conference.
So, Catherine, obviously one of the pressure points here at home is those high gas prices. No signs of those abating anytime soon. I believe the national average for a gallon is about $4.11, but I was out in California, saw $6, even $7 gas in some places. Even Donald Trump says that we could see high gas prices through the midterms. But this is what Kevin Hassett said earlier today on CNBC. Let's listen.
We've been focused like a laser beam on helping the folks that go to the grocery store find that prices are going down because of prudent deregulatory measures that we're taking. And so not only do we have a good inflation story in terms of the numbers.
You have the task of giving us a reality check here. Even if the war were to end today, how long does it take for gas prices to come down?
I can't give you an exact timeline, but it will not be today or tomorrow or next week or probably even next month. And that's because, first of all, we've had some of the infrastructure destroyed in the Gulf. Beyond that, there has been less oil that has been produced because places like Iraq are running out of storage capacity because they cannot ship it through the Gulf. And so you have this sort of air gap, is the term that some traders have been using, in that even if things normalized, even if the Strait totally reopened, you have this backlog of oil that just wasn't produced. And so that's going to lead to downstream higher prices for gasoline, diesel fuel, lots of other petrochemicals, frankly, that we don't even think about that also go into consumer goods.
So, Jake, how do Democrats plan to keep the pressure up on their colleagues across the aisle and especially leverage the high gas prices to do so?
I think that they are going to go into an election season and they're going to hammer the president and Republicans on raising gas prices. I was in California last week. $5.95 a gallon for gas is obscene. And they're going to say that Trump is conducting and prosecuting a war of choice that is making people here less safe, in their view, and raising your gas prices, the opposite of what he told you he was going to do. And they're hoping that'll be an effective argument.
And one of the things that the Trump administration seems to be alluding to or arguing here, Catherine, is that the countries that rely on the Strait of Hormuz can now get energy from us, that they can import from us. What impact would that have on our economy if we start exporting our oil?
Okay, so we are exporting our oil. In fact, we are a net exporter and have been for several years. So that's good if you are in the oil production industry, if you are in the fossil fuel industry. However, yeah, we can sell more of our oil, maybe, to the rest of the world. At the very least, the rest of the world is going to demand more of our oil, which is going to push up prices on that oil, which will, in fact, mean higher prices for the Americans who might otherwise be buying either those barrels or other barrels, right? It's a global market. And if you have a big decline in supply and the same amount of demand, that's going to push up prices pretty much everywhere. So, yeah, it'll help some companies. It'll help the American companies that did not see their supplies disrupted in the Gulf. But everyone who's a customer of those companies, which is almost everyone else in the economy, they're going to see higher prices. And again, this is not only about energy. I know that we talk about this energy crisis. It's really more of an everything crisis at this point,
it's
right?
Affordability across the board.
It's fertilizer costs that are going to go up. So you heard Kevin Hassett there talking about, look what's happening at the grocery store. First of all, prices are still going up at the grocery store, and they will go up even higher because produce, guess what, gets grown using fertilizer. So you're going to see, again, a lot of price increases in almost everything that Americans buy, either because it has as a direct input something related to oil and natural gas, or it's shipped using diesel. So everything is going to get more expensive as a result of this war.
I was